Her story ended in legacy. And Naomi wasn't just this bitter widow, but she was a spiritual warrior. She was a mentor of destiny and a silent architect of Israel's future king. So we know hardships and trials and burdens. Through that comes advancement. We know that pressure creates diamonds. We know that smooth seas never made skilled sailors. And we know that pain is the price of our progress. So these trials are not to destroy us and to have us unraveling, but these fires are made to refine us and basically make us into the perfectly crafted molds and vessels to walk in our destiny. So with that, we'll talk about the story of Ruth. So if everybody can go to Ruth chapter 1. Okay. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. So we can see from the beginning, this is an Israelite family, but they're going into a land that is not their own. They're going into a strange land of Moab. So we know that if you go into a land that's not your own, the culture is also different. So whereas in our land, we worship the greatest God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. But in a different land, a strange land, there's groves, there's idols, there's worshiping of false gods. So right now, we can see that an Israelite family is going into a strange land that is not their own with a different culture. So they had 2 sons, and the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab, so strange wives as well. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. So right now we see that Naomi has lost her sons, and she has lost her husband, and now it is just her and her daughters-in-law. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. So right now we know that this is the time of famine. So Naomi's hearing, you know what, back in my land, the Lord is giving out bread. And right now I am empty. I am depleted. I no longer have anything to call my own. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob have stripped my livelihood from me, my children, my husband. So now it's like I'm depleted. I must go back home. And I think that's also even a cultural practice, or even something that we should take amongst ourselves, is that sometimes like you need to refuel when you're low. You need to refuel and you need to get your source of light back, especially when you feel dim, especially when you feel stripped. It's like, I need to go back home. I need to be amongst my community. I need to be close to my God again because he's feeling far away. So right now we can see Naomi's like, I'm depleted. I'm drained. I have nothing. We're in the time of famine. Let's go back home because I need to basically get refueled and fill up my vessel, even just getting bread to nourish me. So verse 7, wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, go, return each to her mother's. To her mother's had reserved after she was sufficed. I'm sorry, I moved to the wrong page. But yeah, 8. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, go return each other to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you as he have dealt with the dead and with me. So we can even see that now Naomi's putting herself in the same bracket of as despair. Like, go back to your mother's houses because basically I'm cursed. So you've dealt with the dead and me, like me and the dead are alike. So right now, if you want any positivity in your life, if you want your life to be back on a track of flourishing and of success, then I would say, hold fast, hold steady, go back home and build your lives anew there. Because right now, with me and with whatever's happening, because right now it could probably only feel as a punishment. Like, what have I done to deserve this? What have I done for this to be my reality? And she loved her daughters-in-law. So it's like, I don't even want whatever I have to rub off on you. So you know what? Steer clear away from me. Don't come near me. Don't come around me, but go to your mother's houses. Verse 9. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. So she's saying, I have nothing to give to you. You want to follow me, but why? Even if I had a husband and let's just say I had kids, I'm too old even to tarry for them. So are you going to just basically not let your lives progress and stay with me and then tarry for my kids and then basically just be like my servant and go around and do what I cannot? Like, that's a burden not only unto me, but unto you, for your lives not to flourish, but to be stagnant and cut off from the Lord if you stay with me. So even in this context, the love that she has for her daughters-in-law, we know culturally that when you marry an Israelite man, you go and basically you adopt their family, like their family becomes your own. So it's not necessarily that this is like a typical daughter-in-law, mother-in-law relationship, but like this is my mother. So they don't even want to go back home because, you go forward, you move forward, you leave your own house, you go to your husband's house and you take on their family. So even that is like a step back, like Naomi, you're no longer a friend, you're no longer somebody, a brethren, you are my mother, you are my family. So at this point, I want to follow you wherever you go. But like a mother, even unto her children, just wanting the best for them. You can see Naomi's heart saying, like, it's grieving her to even send you away. It's grieving her to say, go back to your mother's houses. Like, I wish it could be different. But unfortunately, I have done something worthy of an intense punishment. The God of Israel's anger waxeth hot against me for some reason that I do not know. But I know I need to get right with God. And I know that I do not want you guys here in the midst of it because I don't want you to get any runoff. I don't want you to get the wrath that is kindled upon me to even come even in a fraction upon you. Because the same way that I have developed into your mother, you have developed into my child. So steer clear, pave your own way, and hopefully the God of Israel will deal kindly with you. But as you can see, that it's a hard pill for even them to swallow because they want to be with Naomi. So verse 14, and they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, and Ruth clave unto her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. So you see that even the sister-in-law of Ruth has gone back, but Ruth is like, you know what? Only death will part you and I, Naomi. I want your people to be my people and your God, my God. You read this story and you wonder, Naomi was stripped of everything, but yet she was an example for Ruth. Ruth wanted to follow in her footsteps. Why? What did she see in Naomi for her to even want to cleave unto her? Because it's more than having a good relationship. It's more than saying, oh, Ruth just loved Naomi, so, she just said, only in death would I leave Naomi. Like, that's a little extreme. What did she see in Naomi for her to say, you know what? Even though it looks like the God of Israel's wrath has waxed hot against you, for some reason, I want your God to be my God, and I want to walk in thy footsteps, and I want your people even to be my people. What makes one do that? Because we can even see that and internalize that for ourselves. And if you see somebody getting brutally punished, if you see somebody in despair and lowly, you're not going to want to take after them. But you have to think, maybe in the life of Naomi, like, she must have been an exceptional woman. She must have been like exuding culture through and through. She must have been wise. She must have been a real trailblazer for Israel. For Naomi to say, even though you've lost your sons, even though you've lost your husband, I want to be like you. And I want to have that same demeanor about myself as you. So even though she lost everything, like, Naomi wasn't unraveling. She wasn't busting at the seams. She wasn't wailing and on the floor and cursing God and wanting to die. It's like Ruth saw an essence about her. She saw a spiritual strength that could only be from the light of the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Comment? Question?
Already just said it. From earlier reading and trying to assess, um, you know, Ruth wanting to stay with Naomi, culture came to mind
100%.
because clearly, um, while her husband was alive, the family was alive, the sons were alive, they practiced culture, right? And it clearly left an imprint on Ruth, right? So I think you said it. It's culture. It's her God. It's I think it's hopefully similar to these times. If a young lady joins an Israelite family, you're going to see Passover, a feast of unleavened bread. You're going to see these cultural practices that stays with you. So even before you summed it up just a while ago, culture came to mind. And of course, it said also that she said, I will lodge thy people be my people, and thy God my God. So thank you.
Just something else I seen also in this, and I wasn't here from the beginning part, but you could have said it already. But it's that Ruth became one with the culture. Like, Naomi wasn't saying anything to both of them that was wrong, but then they had to think, and where do I want to go? What life do I want to live? Where it was easier for the other one to go back, because keep in mind also, their husbands is not around.
100%.
So what you just said about the impact of Naomi, the husbands are not around. So it's not that it's they could do whatever they want at this time. It's not the husband that's influencing them to go in whatever direction. So they really could have just stayed home because it's only the husband's mother. Really and truly, it's just that. So even that just came into my mind, that what an impact even for us now in the nation, that we need to have also on the younger generation, where the culture overpowers
100%.
everything, because this shows to the outside world and also within the nation. So I think there's a lot was unpacked in what you just said, but that just came to my mind, and wow.
100%. Okay, no comment. So I think that's a great and awesome point. And I'll even say, even to dig deeper into that, how we're talking about what Ruth saw in Naomi for her to even want to follow. But, and I know we're talking about Naomi as being this honorable mention, but then even flip back to Ruth, because Naomi presented herself the same way to both of the daughters in law. Naomi was the same woman around the house, let's just say, to both of them. But yet the other sister in law went back home, went back to her gods, listened to what Naomi said. But it was only Ruth that was like, no, I actually want to follow you, and your people be my people, your God, my God. So on another layer of that, it's like, not only what did Ruth and the daughters-in-law see in Naomi, but what was inside Ruth to see that? Like, she had the eyes to see, and she was a strange woman. And then even when we look even deeper into that, and we talk about basically the culture speaking for themselves, they were in a strange land. So let's just say, even if the culture was being practiced within Naomi's home, or even if she was exemplary of her own culture, they were in a strange land. So the majority wasn't practicing this culture. The majority was worshiping false gods and graven images. And so at the end of the day, it's really about Ruth and Naomi, and basically having the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and having that understanding. So even though Naomi's feeling the despair right now, as I would say, not even the viewers, but as the readers, we can kind of see that this is the hand of the God of Israel, because we know that it only took understanding and knowledge and having the eyes to see for even a lot of you to be in these seats, and that is the hand of the God of Israel. Not everyone has the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So with Ruth even recognizing that in Naomi, it's like he kind of gave Naomi even a support system in the time that she thought the God of Israel has turned his face away from her. So I think that's been a lot of great points made there. Verse, I would say 17. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So only death is going to separate us. So even though you want me to leave and you want me to go back because the Lord has forsaken you, I want to cleave unto you. I want your God to be my God. I want your culture and your people to be my people. So only death is going to get me to leave you, Naomi. And that's what I'm saying. That's a big statement. That's not just we have a great relationship. That is a righteous essence about the both of them. That, like, righteousness recognizes righteousness. When we talk about Naomi, we should continue on for verse 18. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and they said, Is this Naomi? So it's been a while since she has been back to her native place, the land of her nativity. And we could even see that a lot of people in this present day and age, modern people, we like to, well, not we, but the modern day individual likes to stay in the area of their dead, because they like to, visit the graves at the birthday, bring some flowers, always honor the dead and honor the dead. So sometimes it's even crazy to think that, okay, your husband and your kids are are buried in a certain city, and you would actually leave that city and move on and go on. Like, that's a little bit crazy. But we even see culturally, as Israelites, as Naomi even being an Israelite, that's not even a factor for her, because we know that our God is the living and not of the dead. We know we bury the dead and we move on. We only honor the living. So to even think to be amongst the dead, or where my family is buried and it has sentimental value, that's not even a thought in her brain. She's just thinking, okay, the ones that are living, meaning my daughters-in-law, I'm going to make sure, or try to advise you guys to have a good and strong and positive path in righteousness. So maybe don't follow me. But as we can see, Ruth went with her back to Bethlehem. So now they're all seeing her as like, is this Naomi? Like, it's been years since we've seen you. And she said unto them, verse 20, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. So we know the power of a name. And for her to reduce herself to even being called Mara, like, don't call me by my cultural name, because I feel as though I am so far from my God. I feel as though my God's face is turned away from me. So call me not Naomi, but call me Mara, for that's what I am reduced to. I am in despair. I have nothing. I am empty. I have no spirituality left. The spirit is running low. So I don't even think I am worthy of my namesake. I don't think I'm worthy of my culture. I don't think I have any spiritual connection left to my God, because I have had everything taken away from me. So don't even call me Naomi. Don't even attach me to my culture, because I'm no longer worthy of it. Just call me Mara. I went out in full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter in law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. So, chapter 2. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And her hap was to light on a part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered to him, the Lord bless thee. So even we can see, being Israelites in the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, when we see our brethren, it's peace be unto you, and they respond, peace be unto you. So even we see ourselves in the fashion of our forefathers here at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Those little intricate details is like almost just beautiful and magical to see that we've been practicing this since day one. The peace be unto you and peace be unto you. And we see it in the scriptures, even in a story as Ruth. Verse 5. Then Boaz said unto his reapers, unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. So don't go to a different field. Stay by my maidens. And if you're thirsty, have yourself a drink, and no one will bother you, and no man will touch you. You are safe here, and you are good here. You are taken care of. So don't worry. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, it hath fully been shown me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and are come unto a people which thou knewest not heretofore. So basically, we see even the culture happening here. Like, because you have done good and you have supported one of ours, I'll bless you because you have been a blessing unto Naomi. You forsake your family, you forsake your own gods, and Naomi has lost everything, but yet you have been a support system unto her. You have taken her people to be your own. You have embraced our culture and our God, and you have basically uprooted your entire life to do something great for a fellow Israelite, for a fellow brethren. So because of that, Ruth, I take favor upon you and I bless you. But even on a deeper surface, we know that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he gives this favor. Like the same way he hardens man's heart, he can soften it and give favor. So even Boaz already having a softening to Ruth, it's like we can already see a play that's happening here, an intricate working, a plan that's already stirring. So meanwhile, Naomi is probably somewhere in despair and feeling low. She doesn't know that all of this this plan is silently happening and silently forming right underneath her nose. So even it goes for us to say that we can sometimes get tunnel vision in our own struggle, but we don't know what's happening behind closed doors in our favor. We don't know the plan that is set for us in the future. We don't know what the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has in store. So sometimes when you feel the heat of that fire, all you can do is kind of be like Naomi here too, and just follow your training. Go back home, cleave unto your God, and hope for the best. What verse am I at? 12. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. Then she said, let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaidens. And Boaz said unto her, at mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn. And she did eat, and was sufficed, and left. And when Boaz was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproacheth her not. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. So sometimes in the present day and age, we say, like, you're overly doing it. Like Boaz was overly giving to Ruth. So I say once again, it's different than you've just done great things for a brethren, so I bless you. It's kind of like the God of Israel's hand is working here, because not only can you reap the fields alongside my handmaidens, and I'm going to give you bread to eat and water to drink, and no one will bother you, but I'm just giving you more, and I'm giving you more, and I'm furnishing your basket. Like, this is more than even the average person gets. So you think, why? But as we know, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he works in mysterious ways, even though sometimes we cannot see it for ourselves. It's there, it's in the essence of everything. So she gleaned verse 18. And she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, the man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left of his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, the man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. So we can see Naomi's wisdom even playing now, because we said, you know what? Maybe Ruth saw something so deep within Naomi that was cultural that she wanted to follow. But we can see it is because Naomi heard that, like, what man is taking such a liking to you to bless you so abundantly? And the second she said Boaz, and Naomi put two and two together, that he's one of our kinsmen, you can even see that she thanked the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, because she knew, once again, that it was that intricate plan starting to play. So we can see what even she advised Ruth to do in the following verses and chapters. Go ahead.
Something else that I noticed from the first chapter that you read, it's how Naomi said, she went out full and the Lord brought her back home empty. And I think this scripture from verse 12 down has impacted me just even in this moment, for them to be saying the things that they've said to her, because you could tell it's not something, just by the way Naomi just spoke now, this is not normal. Really and truly, you're bringing me prosperity.
100%.
And that's what it is. You're my reward.
Exactly.
This is something phenomenal is going down here, because then even for Naomi the mindset has changed.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, it only takes wisdom to even see that, like cultural wisdom to say, you know what, these blessings, they're from my God. They're from the greatest God. This doesn't happen every day. This must be the hand of the God that I thought forsake me. Like, glory be to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. For you have brought me back abundance. For you are a stranger in my land, but yet Boaz is having favor upon you, and he's one of our kingsmen. She's already calculating, she's already plotting, she already sees, okay, she has a discernment to recognize the God of Israel's will. And I think that's such a privilege that we can all just even long and hope for, that when the will is being presented, that we're able to even recognize it and humble ourselves and submit unto it and even help the will be carried out. Because we can see, like I said, later on in the verses and in the chapters, Naomi actually helped this will after she recognized it. After she recognizes one of the kingsmen and that this has probably come from the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, she immediately started helping. And Ruth the Moabitess said, he said unto me also, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley, harvest, and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. So Naomi's saying, you know what, from here on out, don't go to any other field. You stay by Boaz and his maidens, and basically, like, you help the God of Israel's plan, like, you help it be done. So take my words, don't go anywhere, and friendly up with all the maidens there. Stay close, stay put, so that when they see you, they already associate you with Boaz. Start from now. So Naomi, no, not Naomi, but Ruth is not even privy to the future. She's not privy to the plan that's being put in place. But Naomi, having that wisdom and that discernment, you stay close here because it's going to help in the end. And we see that as the chapter continues. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself, therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be when he lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. So I think that, once again, when we talk about Naomi being this embodiment of culture, but there must have been something in Ruth to even have that understanding and to even listen to wise counsel. Like we read in the stories, even Rehoboam and how he had Rehoboam and how he had his friends around him, and he listened to the advice of his friends instead of the wise words of the elders, and how that led to his despair. But you have somebody like Ruth, who's like, you know what, Naomi, whatever you say to me, I am going to follow, and I'm going to follow it to the T. You are wise, I respect you, and I am going to take that and carry out the plan that you tell me to do. So for the sake of skipping a few verses, Naomi, no, Ruth listened to everything that Naomi had said. So she gave him the food and the drink, and when he went to sleep, she uncovered his feet, lied by his feet, and when he woke up, he was like, what's going on and who's there? And she said, you know what? It's Ruth, thy handmaiden. And I feel like Naomi even understood culture, because if you go and lie by his feet, especially as a woman, he has to basically abide by your integrity. So he has to kind of marry you, because if you lie by another man's feet and you spent the night with him and you're his handmaiden, then he has to honor you. So that's the plan. And you see that Ruth carried out this plan. She laid by his feet. She said, hey, I'm your handmaiden. Honor me. And basically, hopefully you can marry me. And he said, you know what, there's another kinsman that's before me, because in our culture, it's through lineage and through kinsmen that you have basically dibs on the widow or on the girl that's there. So Ruth actually had a different man that was basically first runner up. And Boaz said, if he doesn't fulfill his duty, then because what has happened here tonight, I will basically abide by your integrity, and I will uphold my end of the bargain. So that happened. And Boaz went and he spoke to the elders of the community. Once again, culture. He didn't just, say, you know what, I'm gonna marry Ruth and I'm not gonna listen to cultural practices. I'm not gonna take the advice of the elders. He called all of the elders and they had open discussion and they gave him advice. And he spoke to the next kingsman that was a runner up and said, are you going to, one, buy Elimelech's property, and two, marry Ruth? And he said, you know what? I'm not. I don't have the means for that. I'm not prepared for that. So you know what? You take Elimelech's property and you marry Ruth. And it was cultural. He even took the shoes off of his feet and gave it to Boaz, kind of as confirmation of what they had spoken about. So the elders amongst Boaz were even eyewitnesses to that. And so, you know what? That's going to be the plan. Where eyewitnesses, let culture take place. And he gave Ruth basically like a little offering of some wheat and stuff to bring back home to Naomi so that she can have even more abundance. And maybe I want to read chapter 4? Boaz again, what's fake? So it basically talks about him going with the elders. Okay. So I will read the end of this because the end of this is really good and it'll wrap everything up. So basically, like I said, he gave an offering of wheat to bring back to Naomi so she can have even more abundance. And he was able to marry Ruth. So moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day. The elders are the witnesses. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily to Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, and his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child and laid it on her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi. Not to Ruth. There is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat the beloved king of Israel, even David. So Naomi was not forsaken, but she was being put through the fire to birth a legacy. She was being put through the fire to help the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's will even be done. So where she has thought his face was far away from her, where his presence was far away from her, he was right there all along. And we talk about an Israelite family being in a strange land and even her sons taking strange wives. maybe it needed to happen for the greater purpose that they were killed. Because even when we look at Cain and Abel having to be put away for Seth to have the righteous line, even when we talk about Abraham sending them to Chaldea to get a wife for Isaac because he knew the purpose of that lineage was going to be righteous and going to be blessed. Maybe they needed to clear out all the strange wives, not the strange wives, but all the non-workers of their duty. They needed to clear out Elimelech, who was meant to be the man of the house, the Israelite man of the house. But yet his sons were taking strange wives. Maybe it was only that the God of Israel saw something special, like we said, something righteous within Ruth and within Naomi, that he only, took those two, cleared everything else out so that righteousness can come from that. So sometimes we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the path is. But we know that just like Naomi, even in the fire, you have to remember your training. Even in despair, her feet still quickened her to move closer to her God. Even when she felt like she was forsaken, she still glorified his name. Even though he stripped everything away from her, she still said, you know what? I got even an ounce of blessings. This has to be from my God, who I thought turned his back away from me. She still had the wisdom and her culture. She still put on her armor to do her purpose so that destiny could be done. So even when you feel low, you're never too low to reach up and grab the hand of God. And I would say likewise, I'll mention a story. It's only a few verses in Luke. Luke chapter 2, we're going to read only verses 36 and 38. It is about Anna, the prophetess. Verses 26, not 26, 36 to 38. And there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Aser. She was of a great age and had lived with a husband 7 years from her virginity. So she lived with her husband. She had her husband for 7 years. And she was a widow of about 84 years. So for about 84 years, a score is 20. So 4 years, 84 years, she was a widow. So she had joy and she had her husband for all of 7 years. But the pain, the suffering, and the despair clouded that by miles, by decades. For 84 years, a widow. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple, but served God with fasting and prayers night and day. And she, coming in that instant, gave thanks likewise unto the Lord, and spake of him to all them that looked for redemption in Jerusalem. So when we think about that, Anna didn't just feel that she was a widow for 84 years and you know what, I'm going to be bitter. You know what, I'm going to stay in my house. I'm going to forsake God the same way he has forsaken me. There's probably people that's looking at her as lowly, people that's looking at her the same way that they looked at Naomi, like, what has she done to deserve this? Anna didn't remarry and continue on with life and try for new beginnings, but she, for 84 years, it said, she went and did not depart from the temple, but served God with fasting and with prayers night and day. So when we think about that, this was even during the times of Roman oppression, of spiritual dryness, corruption, even amongst the Pharisees. But yet Anna, she remained righteous when most had even lost hope. She was not consumed by loss, but she was longing in these times for the Redeemer. For over 80 years, remaining steadfast. Like how many people can even fathom that? For over 80 years, she remained steadfast and stayed in the innermost secret places of the temple, praying and fasting, even though her life was more bitter than it was joyful, even though she had no family, no legacy, no children, nothing to her name, nothing to call her own. She stayed in the inner secret parts of the temple and praised the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in spirit and in truth. And then for that to even be taking place for 84 years, you're thinking after 1 year, after 2 years, nothing is happening. I'm praying, but yet nothing is happening. I'm praying, but yet nothing is happening. Nothing is being shown externally. So even in that community, they're probably looking at Anna like this is the same elderly lady that stays in the temple. She's a little bit crazy. Nothing's happening, but she prays all day and all night. And, she's probably getting side eye in the community. They were probably murmuring against her. For 84 years, nothing is changing, but yet Anna is still in this temple, day in and day out. Something must be off there. But the moment that baby Jesus was born, she looked upon that baby and she recognized the Christ because her spirit recognized the Christ. She didn't need an angelic visitation. She knew because her spirit was already trained in truth. And through that, she continuously carried on the mantle, speaking about him to others and those around her who wanted salvation, who wanted redemption. She became a preacher of his wondrous works. And when you think about that, all those 84 years of her praying, of her fasting, she was spiritually paving a way for the Christ, for the Messiah. She was spiritually paving that way. It's not a regular average Joe. She was paving the way in her elderly age for 84 years, where others might have looked poorly upon her. She was paving the way for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, even his only begotten son. So when we look at things like that, we see that even though Anna looked lowly, she was mighty in spirit, just like Naomi. She was lowly, she had nothing to her name, but she was mighty in spirit and in culture, preparing spiritual grounds for legacy, spiritual grounds for the Christ. These two women were powerhouses for culture and for their God, even in the belly of the fire. So through the fire, it didn't kill Anna, but it refined her into a prophetess, into a seer, and of one of the first New Testament preachers of the Christ. She was the first woman to declare the coming and redemption to all others. So when I talk about being through the fire and that grit, I don't talk about everyday fire and petty arguments like, oh, Tamar stepped on your toe, so you're not going to come to the nation. Oh, me and you have beef, so you're not going to come around. The council spoke harshly with you, so you're not going to come around. When I say fire, I'm not talking about that. When I say fire, I talk about real fire warriors like Anna, who was 84 years a widow and only had 7 years with her husband, no legacy, no kids, no nothing, but yet she paved the way for the Christ. I talk about real fire warriors like Naomi, who lost everything, but helped carry out the will of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and had that discernment and that wisdom so that even Boaz and Ruth can come together to then have Obed and Jesse, even the king of Israel, after the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's own heart, David. I talk about real fire warriors like Mordecai, who put on sackcloth and ashes because his people were going to be put to death. But he watched the gate. He gave wisdom unto Esther so that even we could be safe, so that even you and I could be here today, because we don't even know that without Mordecai, we might not have even been saved. So I talk about real fire warriors like Abraham having to kill his only son and feeling like, you know what? It says that Abraham was a friend of God. He was after the God of Israel's own heart as well. But yet, it's like he received the worst punishment. So it's like, what did I do to deserve this? For this is a burden. But yet he put on his sword and his shield and he marched into his duty. And through that, Isaac was spared. Then we had Jacob, whose name change was to Israel, who had the 12 tribes of Israel. We see that if you carry on in these fires, it is not to break you. It is not for you to unravel, but it is for you to be perfectly crafted and molded to walk in your destiny for a higher purpose, even the will of the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And the scriptures, they talk about how the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob says you'll be put through the fire and you'll be put through the water, but be not dismayed, for I'm that God and you are mine. But it also goes on a deeper layer of saying, like, we are not going to fall on our face no matter how hot the fire gets, because we have the ultimate source, which we always need to remember. In these stories, the fire didn't destroy them, but it refined them into wayfinders, into way pavers, into educators, prophets, trailblazers, even for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These people walked through the fire, but they came out burning in glory, not ashes. But I will say it is only because they put on their armor of God, which is a plug to last week's lesson. They only were able to get through these harsh fires through putting on their armor of God. So I know some of you may say, like, how do you know this? Or even, what is the armor of God? So I will say we will go to Psalms 126. Psalms 126. And we will only read verses 5 to 6. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. So what I even want to highlight is, they that sow in tears shall reap in joy. So how do I know that they needed to put on their armor in order to even get through the fire? Because it says they that sow. The sowing is the putting on the armor of God. And what is the armor of God? The armor of God is just like our foreparents that we see in these stories. It is our culture. It is our doctrine. It is coming before the altar. It is putting on your gown, your white gown with your borders of blue. It is having wise teachings from the elders and humbling yourself to take it as a way of life. Only if you abide by his laws, his statutes, and his commandments, that is your armor of God. Only having faith and having the doctrine written in your inward parts, that is the armor of God. So in order to even get through these harsh fires and to come out winning and refined and glistening, you need to put on that armor. So sometimes we even feel the fire in our own ways. Like, times get tough. I'll say, even personally speaking, like, this year has been a harsh year for me in terms of, navigating life, in terms of being a go-getter and wanting more for myself. Like, me, I'm a person that a million things need to be happening for me, like, per second, in order to feel fulfilled. So this year I've had, like, even a season of just feeling stagnant. Like, even though I'm not, it feels that way. Like, sometimes the mind even plays tricks on you and making you think that you're so far behind when you're not. So it's like I felt low. Like, this year, the spirit was low. But yet, I'm following the training. I come to the nation, I put on my gown, I pray when I can. And sometimes you're even praying in your room and you're like, Lord, are you hearing me? Why are you so far away from helping me? Why can you not see the struggle or the lowliness? Why are you so far from reaching out your hand and helping your humble servants? But then I would say, even recently, like, I'm talking about this year being a rough year. And then as of the last 2-3 weeks, like, my email is flooded, my phone's ringing off the hook. Like, my journey is taking color at an all-time pace and rate that even I can't even keep up with. I'm saying, you know what? Maybe things need to slow down. I'm having to do too many things at once. What felt like a dry season has came back in full color as of these last 2-3 weeks. So even though the year felt like 10 decades to me because my spirit was low and I was struggling, it's like my Father has reminded me that there is a God in heaven and he redeems. So what I will say is that, we need to remember our training. Because even though I was feeling like I'm doing the training, but yet nothing's happening. I'm doing this, I'm praying, I'm going to the altar, I'm coming to the nation, I'm putting on my gown, but yet nothing is happening. Now I'm saying, a year later, 2-3 weeks, I've been the busiest that I've ever been. So it's like, don't give up on your training, because those that sow in tears shall reap in joy. And the God of Israel, he redeems. So all I could say is thank you to the greatest God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We need to remember that when it all falls apart, we hold on. When we lose sight, everything falls apart. So when things fall apart, we hold on. And even more so, those that are like I, that have been born and raised in this nation, because he has been our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, even from our mother's womb, even from our mother's belly. So I'll repeat that again. All of us must not be dismayed by the fire, because through the fire we are formed into perfect vessels for our destiny. Through the fire, if we hold on and we armor up and we sow in tears, then we shall come out victorious always. Through the fire, if we buckle down, then we shall never be in a position to fall on our face. All of us must hold on to the rod. All of us must stay steadfast and stay rooted within this culture, within this doctrine. All of us must do that. But even more so, those like I, who have been born and raised in the nation, for he has been our God even in our mama's belly. So, brethren, in struggle, I say, praise God. In struggle, I say, hold on to that rod. In struggle, you bow your face before the altar. You put on your white gown with your borders of blue. You come here in struggle and you praise and you sing with your whole heart. In struggle, you give it all to God. In struggle, you come up on this podium and you give the people a message to stay steadfast. You give the people a message to hold on. You give the people a message to remember their God. In struggle, we do these things so that we can weather the storm. So if we do our part and if we hold on and do our end, then we shall never fall on our face. The heathen shall never laugh at us. The enemies shall never say that there is no God in Israel. The enemies shall never say that maybe it is our God that sleepeth above. Because we know that our Lord redeems, and he redeems the souls of his servants. So be not dismayed. Be not dismayed by the fire. But it is meant to see if you are worthy. It is meant to mold you. It is meant for you to come out brighter and better and to walk in your destiny. So I will say, guys, that is it for me today. And that will be my wrap up. But the lesson is not over, because I'm passing the baton over to my dad, Elder Andel, because he has a message for you guys today. So stay tuned. Stay with us.
So the fire, it didn't fail you, it formed you. I don't know who told me to come after Tamar today. Who tricked me into coming up here after Teacher Tamar? When we were thinking about this, it was inspired from last week's lesson, the armor of God. And I wanted to do a part 2 of it, but then as we were going through the thought and the journey in understanding what the message should be, I figured we would talk about how pain and how struggle and how the storm is at the gateway of your destiny. So some people see pain, struggle, and they see the storm and they exit, not knowing that if they go through pain, struggle, and the storm, that what awaits you at the other side is far greater than what you currently have. Now, hold on. The God of our forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, what he did was made sure that he has a validation process. The validation process is, I want to give you something, but I need to know if you are worthy. So, like my wife said last night, here is Abraham with the spear or knife or sword or dagger right in his hand, ready to pierce through his own son Isaac. And the angel says, hold it. Now I know. Now I know I'm ready to bless you from head to toe. You are my guy. A lot of people say, well, Elder Andel, why I gotta go through what I gotta go through? I thought we were the chosen. Elder Andel, why I gotta be crying the way I cry? I thought we were doing the right things. You know, Elder Andel, you know, why I have to suffer the way I suffer? I thought you told me the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is real. So then I go to Psalm 22. And I'm talking not to those who are part of other denominations. Let me make it really clear what I'm about to do. I'm talking about the family that belongs to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And if you are part of that family, then what I'm about to say today would make sense. There will be substance behind what I'm about to say. So, Elder Handel, why I got to go through this? A young man was up here and he says, I'm going through a whole heap of trouble. I'm going through a whole heap of pain. And a guy like me sit down and I meditate on that. I say, here's what you do. You take that pain. You take that struggle and you let that deliver a message to the brethren that they need to understand that we are all in this together. So what did David say? He says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And why art thou so far from helping me? But the key word is, it didn't say, oh God, why hast thou forsaken me? It says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of you are going to say, Elder Handel, did you write this lesson for me? Yes. Some of you online is listening and saying, did this bald guy write this specifically for me? Yes. The answer is yes. My God, why hast thou forsaken me, and why art thou so far from helping me? And from the words of my roaring. How many times you heard Teacher Tamara says sometimes she's praying and she's wondering, is God listening? You know how many times our forefathers went through some pain and they decided that we're going to leave the God of our forefathers and we're going to start to bake cakes for the Queen of Heaven? Because we want fast results. We don't know if God is there or not, but we want to bake cakes for the Queen of Heaven. But David, the beloved of God, said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And why art thou so far from helping me? I remember the early lessons that I received from Elder Shadrach. And he says, I don't even know if I pray, he says. And follow me for those online because you go, oh, Elder Shadrach, don't pray. Wait till I'm finished what I'm about to say to you. He says, I have conversations with my Father. Takes a long time to understand that. Even if you are here right now or online listening, you're like, yeah, that's me too. But I promise you, it takes a long, long time on this journey to come to that kind of a relationship and understanding when it's actually really a conversation, because you have built that linkage between your God and you. And Elder says that he don't even know how to formally pray. He has conversations. But conversations don't come when you are fat in the belly with food. It don't come when you are flying in private jets. Conversations with God don't come when you're riding on a nice chariot with being fed of grapes and of pomegranates. Conversations with God comes from the depth of pain, of struggles. When you're in the midst of the storm is when conversations come out. That's when you start to develop the relationship with God. That's when the inner man starts to cry through the flesh and say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Because I feel like I'm praying. I feel like I'm struggling. And yet the walls are coming down. I had a young man tell me once, the more I pray is the more it seems like things are getting worse. So guess what happens with that young man? You stop praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the natural way of doing things. The more I pray is the more things feel like it's getting worse. So, and I'm encouraging the young man to pray, right? I'm encouraging the young man to seek the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His report back to me is the more I pray, it seems the worse things get. But if Daniel did not hurt his flesh and did not get the nice honey upon his lips and went for 7 days by the river, seeking and crying out to his God, if after the 7 days he said, you know what? I don't think there's a God in heaven. I'm breaking this fast. I'm about my business. But Daniel went another 7 days because he knew that there's a God, the God of his forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And that 7 days, he could have gotten up after the 14th day and said, you know what? I think things are getting worse and not better. Daniel went another 7 days, 21 days of fasting and prayer by the river. And then when the angel came, it says, from day number 1, my friend, I was coming. But you got to understand the world that you and I live in. It is a battle between principalities and powers. But if you, my friend, and I'm now putting my own creative on this, if Daniel did not continue for those days, and it was noted that Daniel aborted the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I promise you that angel would have did a U-turn. That angel would have done a U-turn because this guy aborted mission, so we abort mission too. But when Daniel heard that from the first day you cried, I heard you, but you got to understand, we got pressure too that we got to overcome to deliver you. But now here comes your deliverance. Deliverance comes from those that could withstand the pain. It comes from those who can weather a storm. And you're going to get people, your friends, your family members saying, I thought you had a God you were telling me about. I thought you had some God you were telling me about. You're telling me about this Israelite nation and this God of Israel. I thought, why are you slipping and sliding and falling all over the place? Why are you always crying? What's your deal? David says, oh my God, I cry in the daytime. Some of you are saying, oh man, I don't even know how I'm sitting here. I feel like crying because this is me. Some of you sitting right now, wherever you are, you're like, this is me. Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but thou hearest not. And in the night season, and I'm not silent. You want to talk about David, King David. And everyone wants to say, King David, King David, King David. So let's take a page out of King David's book. He did not say, oh my God, I aborted mission. He says, I cry in the daytime to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And at nighttime, I am not silent because he's still reaching out to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, even though he feels like, when is my deliverance coming? But he says, but thou, and listen to this keenly. Listen to this keenly. But thou art holy. O thou that inhabitest the praises of Israel. So in all the pain that I am going through, in all the trials, I mean, I even had my son Absalom coming after me. I even had my son Absalom take my concubines on top the roof and laid with them in the sight of all Israel. You know how bad that is? I walked on barefoot, running away from my only son Absalom. I stayed in the wilderness for a long time, running from King Saul. But you understand David's latter end, do you not? Because if David had cracked through the fire, if he had broken through the fire, there would be no need for the scripture to say, of his throne there shall be no end. There shall not fail me a man in Israel to sit upon, from the house of David, to sit upon the throne. Because you proved it to me, David, that you're my guy. And sometimes I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not only that you walked through the fire and proved it to me, but you got, what they call it, Prophet Nathan? Ops. Is that the word you guys use, is ops? You've got and what's ops for? Opposition? So you also got the ops. Am I saying it in the right way? So you've got the ops, or the opposition. Because what you are doing, and for those of you who are listening, our elder has said, this shouldn't be happening. And let me clarify what I mean by that. You praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, keeping his rightful new moons, his rightful Sabbath days, you understanding about who the Christ is, you understanding about the services of God, you praising God through your psalms, your music, your instruments. This should not be happening. You honoring God with a holy altar that's been prepared in his name. This they don't want to happen, is what I should say. They don't want this to happen. They don't want this to ever exist. So guess what happens when you join the army of the living God? You're not just getting tried by the God of Israel at times. You also got the opposition that hates your very existence. Because your very existence means that their existence is coming to a close shortly. You are the biggest threat to the entire system of this world, both physical and unseen. You being the Israelite, part of the Israelite nation, worldwide ministries, you are in reality the biggest threat to everything that is established on this earth. And in reverse, you are the biggest blessing to everything that is on this planet. Through you, all nations could be blessed if they understand your role. Our fathers trusted in thee. Our fathers. They didn't trust in Allah. And sometimes I get up here and I'm like, I'm making more enemies every single day, man. It's not easy, you know? Every day I come up here, I'm adding more enemies to the list. Our fathers did not trust in Allah. Our fathers did not trust in Jesus. Ooh, that one was sharp. Our fathers did not trust in Shiva and Buddha and all these things. So when we are reading this, don't just buy it from Amazon as a bookmark to put in your book, Psalm 22. Don't just run out there and get wall art that talks about Psalm 22. Know that this is all about Israel and the God of Israel. Now, just so we're clear, know that this message, this psalm was written by David, an Israelite, about his God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So, our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, Samuel, all the prophets trusted in thee, and thou didst deliver them. So when you are in your time of, this is my last breath that I'm about to take before I die, know what David is saying. He's saying, I am crying day and I'm crying at nighttime. Hast thou forsaken me? But I know that thou inhabitest the praises of Israel. And I know that you delivered our fathers. So I am holding on to that until my last breath. That's how it works. And the person that can do that is the one who would advance to the next stage. The person that withers and dies is a person that is not worthy to be in the army of God. You ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. You are a general of an army, and you're starting to recruit people to be in your army. And you have individuals that ran from the first smoke signal that went up there. They had abort mission. You're going to draft them to be in your army? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're looking for those that got grit. You're looking for those who were in the trenches. You're looking for those who had one morsel of bread that lasted them 21 days, but were still defending your country or your people. You're looking for those that followed instructions. You're looking for those that was foaming at the mouth to defend their constitution. You're looking for those that will raise the banner in their God's name. That's the people you want to get enlisted into your army. So when you go through certain fiery stages, you need to understand, is that a fiery stage that is going to make me break and say there's no God in the Israelite nation worldwide ministries? That what we're doing is all in vain? Or are you going to be like, hey man, this fire is not going to destroy me, but this fire is going to form me into something even greater. This fire is going to form me into something even greater. Our fathers trusted in thee, and they trusted, and thou didst deliver them. Verse 5, they cried unto thee. And yes, the word cry could be they call out unto thee. But literally, you know how many tears, our fathers, literal tears, came out of their eyes when they cried unto God. Literally cry. And if you haven't cried literally tears to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're missing out. I know you think this is, I'm going to be honest with you. If you have not cried literal tears to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you got some ways to go. You got some ways to go. Our fathers cried unto thee. I have seen my elder Shadrach cry like a little child before God. I have seen it many times. I'm not going to lie to you, I've shed a few tears myself. And a lot of you have also. But if you have not reached there yet, nothing is wrong with you. I'm just saying you've got a whole journey ahead of you. You have a course that is so pleasant waiting for you. Because when that emotion is there, then you start to have conversations with God. Our fathers cried unto thee and were delivered. They trusted in thee and were not confounded. I know this. This is my faith, that they trusted in you. They cried unto you. They didn't have feast every day. No prophet had a feast every day, although they would have wanted one. But they had to go before the people and do things that the common man would not want to do because it was hard work and unpleasant. And they mostly were met with death. And then you're going to say, well, if they were prophets, why did the God of Israel allow them to die? Why did they allow him to die like that, Elder Andel? Well, the God of Israel is not looking at that. He's looking at the mission. He's looking at the results. He's looking at what he needs to execute. Because at the end of the day, we all leave this flesh and bones. But while we are in the flesh and bones, every minute counts to execute God's work. They executed God's work, so they have a better promise. Their latter end is better than their former. They weren't thinking physically. But yes, they were men like you and I. They were scared at times. They asked God, are you still with me? Why am I in this position? They did, but they didn't lose the faith. They cried unto thee and were delivered. They trusted in thee and were not confounded. And David says, but I am a worm. But I am a worm and no man. You know what a worm is? A worm is crawling and slithering through the dirt. That's how low I feel, O God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now I'm vulnerable to every bird that flieth over, because the birds come early in the morning. As it says, the early bird catches the worm. I am a worm and no man. That means from all sides, I am vulnerable. I feel so low crawling through the dirt. And you wonder, is this the same? Is this an Israelite? When Job was there, Job was flourishing, because God had blessed him. And you all know the story that Lucifer said, he only praises you, worships you, dances to you, feasts to you, because you put a hedge about him, round about him, about his family, and all that he had. No one can touch Job. You put a hedge. So sometimes when you pray, you ask for that. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, put hedges round about everything I have. Because if he puts the hedges round about you, even Lucifer got to ask permission to get through. He says, you put a hedge round about everything he has. And you've blessed his hand, so he is, I'm paraphrasing, he is filthy rich. But I tell you now, remove all of that. He'll curse you to not the corner, not to your back, but he'll curse you to your face. All right, let's do it, but don't touch him. So you've got oxen and asses gone from Job. And the servants were killed. And before Job could turn around, another person comes to him and say, wait a minute, you know what? Fire came down from God. Your sheep is also gone, and those who were tending the sheep gone. I only alive to come and bear this to you. And then somebody says, oh, before he could even turn around and even process that, someone came and said, whoa, the Chaldeans came and took your camels, and they killed all the servants. And I alone escaped to tell you this. And before he could even turn around and process. Now, you see what I'm saying to you? The first sign, when he says your oxes and your asses were feeding and they're gone, a lot of you would be like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. This is not working. Issachar's telling me I got to come do new moon. I got to come do Sabbath. I got to make sure I'm here because the altar is here. Oxes and asses gone. Something's wrong. Family and friends are outside saying, dude, something's off. Something's off. You sure you're doing this right? You sure all is well? Oxes and asses gone. Sheep gone. Servants gone. Camels gone. God, before he could process it, another messenger come. Hey, your sons and your daughters. A strong wind came, knocked down the house they were in. And what's the verdict? All dead. And I alone escape. You know what Job did at that point, ladies and gentlemen? Those of you that we're talking to, whether you're listening today or 10 years from now on this recording, you know what he did? He rented his mantle. He put on sackcloth. His head became like my head. He shaved his head. And the scripture says, and he worshiped God. Naked I came into the world, and naked I go out. And it says Job did not charge God at all foolishly even though he went through this fire. But you know how the story ends. The former end was tough. He's in the corner now scraping his boils. Friends and family is like, dude, you must have done something so evil for God to rip you like this, because no man of God should be going through what you go through. It's impossible. His friend spoke with authority. But you know how it ends. His latter state was greater than his former, because Job did not lose sight of worshiping. In all of that, he still sang songs. Imagine you're going, sometimes we talk to brethren and be like, yeah, I haven't seen you in like 4 months. I'm going through some things. All right. Okay, you're going through some things. I get you. Job could have said, I'm going through tons of stuff. Job had the right to say that. But Job kept going and going. You heard from Teacher Tamar about Naomi. You heard about Naomi. Teacher Tamar told you, husband and sons gone. Why is she going back to Jerusalem? Go somewhere deeper in Moab. Go find the Hittites somewhere. Go find the Perizzites somewhere, or the Jebusites. Go find some of the ites somewhere. Why on earth did she go back to Jerusalem? You don't lose that faith. And if Teacher tomorrow may have told you this, if there was no Naomi holding firm, there would have been no Jesse. And if there was no Jesse, you guys fill in the blank. There would be no David. So her former was so, but her latter state was enriched, that is etched into history, which is within our 66 books. We know her name even today, which was dated back thousands of years ago. She said, what's the term? Tamara, Nara or Mara? Mara. Call me Mara, for the Lord had dealt bitterly with me. But she came back to Jerusalem. She came back to home base, the home where the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is. But a lot of people run. They run. At the first sign of pressure, they run. God looks for those that can weather a storm. There is a show that Tamar and I binge watch, and it's the Vikings. And some of you probably are Viking fans. And there's a scene with one of the Viking sons. And it's like the season finale, close to the season finale. I'm going to probably butcher his name, Bjorn. Bjorn. What was his coat? Was his Ironside? Okay, nice. We got Vikings. We got, and Ivor the Boneless, okay? So he, although he was wounded, he said, put me on the horse. Just put me on the horse and let me just ride out. He's bleeding, he's dying. But get me on the horse so my men can see me. Get me on the horse. And as he's bleeding out, the men put him on the horse. He tries to stay up straight because he knows that whatever he does is going to give the men the courage they need to do what they need to do. So sometimes you, even through your pain, is the other person that you are uplifting. You can't come and bleed out before those who you're leading. You cannot bleed out before those that you are trying to inspire, even though you may be wounded under your armor. You go to your last breath. Your last breath. Your mission is number one. Your last breath. And that is so difficult to understand. But let's continue with where I was. But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised of the people. All they that see me, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head, saying, he trusted in the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delighted in him. You become, in their eyes, a loser. Because that guy, look what he's going through. They laugh at him and they say, well, you know what? Hey, let me tell you something. He trusted in this God called the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So you know what? Let him deliver him, seeing he trusted in him. But you, in your time of pressure, you keep that cool. Because you know the day will come if you believe that he will deliver you. And then I'll put this as an additional tip for you. You pray that their laughter returns upon their own head. I'll put another tip for you. You pray that the snares that they have laid for you, that they get the same snares 7 times over. You pray that the arrows that they shoot at you, that those arrows be blocked and sent back to them 7-fold. And here's the last tip. You pray that your eyes and ears will hear it and your eyes will see it. So you get the satisfaction. You get the satisfaction. Our God don't play. He don't play. But one thing he doesn't do is work with weaklings. He doesn't work with those who flip-flop. He doesn't work for those who go through a little bit of pain and tell the others to head back to Egypt. He doesn't like that. He looks for a man after his own heart. Can you endure? You know, we talk about creation and how God worked in 6 days. God worked. That's the key word in there, worked. I don't know what that process was like. I don't know what obstacles he may have faced, but he got it done. And that's why he said in the 7th day, God rested from his work that he had done. Some people think God has a magic wand. And it's like, boom, right? Day number 1, boom. Day number 2, boom. Now I rest. Now I rest. I don't know the amount of things that went into those 6 days. But it did say he worked. And it did say he rested from his work. And if you're using rested from your work, it must have been something. He looks for people after his own heart. Those that can push and go through whatever it may be. Because again, like I told you, when you're talking about pain and you're talking about struggle, they stand between you and your next chapter in your life. They are there to filter out the weak, and they're there to make the ones who are strong stronger. It's all up to you. He trusted in the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he delighted in him. And then David says, but thou art he that took me out. You heard Tamar say this. But thou art he, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that took me out of the womb. Thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mama's breast. I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mama's belly. Who can say this here? I see one hand. I see two. 2 people can say that in this room. Not you, Rayshawn, and not you either. I'm sorry to tell you guys that, okay? So let me break it down. A lot of you also online probably put your hand up because you believe that. I get it. And me too. I could say I joined them on that. But the people that could actually claim is the people who were in the womb, that were hearing songs of Israel. And they were kicking their mama's belly to Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. They were kicking their mom's belly. Bop, bop. I'm pointing them. Bop, bop. Right? The ones who can say that were in the womb when Psalms was being read to them. The ones who were in the womb, some of them went through the waters of baptism. The ones in the womb, some of them heard the pledge being said and were just pushing, trying to get out. Get me out so I can say the pledge with you. Get me out. Ray Sean, that's what I mean. I don't think you went through that. Right? You were my God from the womb. From my mama's breast, you were my God. They're the ones that knew about weaning and all the things that they went through. Rayshawn, you and I, unfortunately, we weren't blessed in that way. But there are those in the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries that were born in this truth. And from their mama's belly. That's why it's so important when we talk culture. Because David quotes it, but thou art he that took me out of the womb. Thou didst make me to hope when I was upon my mother's breast. I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mama's belly. When you say something like that, that's power. Remember thou me, God. It is me calling on you. From the womb I was with you. Oh, man, I wish I can talk like that. I wish I can say, he was my God from my mama's belly. You understand? I'm going to do what Chris does. You understand? You understand? You understand? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Be not far from me, for trouble is near. Many are the affliction of the righteous, David says. Many, not sometimes, not a little bit. Many are the affliction of the righteous, but the Lord deliver him out of all. But Elder Andal, I and Ezekiel and Prophet Nathan go to the nation, and we do new moon, and we do this, and we do that. Why? Why all of this, man? Says, I come. Behold, I come, and my reward is with me. And I will give unto every man according as he had done. So my reward comes not for those who can't go through what they got to go through to get this reward. This reward, you cannot count. You cannot even logically think what it is. It's greater than your physical mind can comprehend. That's why the Christ is in my Father's house. Many mansions, not rooms. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. I go to prepare one for you. And I'm not talking about you and me, but when he talked to his 12 apostles, I go to prepare one for you because you've come through the thick and the thin with me. We pitched up everywhere. We didn't have anything. We had to set up fire and roll bread. We had to go to the fish market to share a fish together. We went and we got stoned in places that we went to, but you stuck with me. You stuck with me. So in my Father's house, there are many mansions, and I go to prepare a place for you. I want that to be our story. But we got to walk the hard walk. And there will come times of testing for this nation. And 40 years, Elder Shadrach stood up here and he said 40 years of ups and downs and tribulations, and he made it to 40 years. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan had beset me round about. They gazed upon me with their mouths as a ravening and a roaring lion. I told you the ops. We talked about the opposition. Strong bulls compassed me. Roaring lions are after me, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am poured out like water. All my bones and my joint, my heart is like wax. It melteth in the midst of my bowel. How tough is this? My strength is dried up like a potsherd. My tongue cleaveth to my jaws. I can't even speak, man. I can't even. Thou hast brought me into the dust of the earth. And here's your favorite animal that Chris said he's going to kill. For dogs have compassed me. Let me read that again. You know, I came up here months ago and I did a rant on dogs. And I said that some of you are going to hate me and some are going to unsubscribe from the channel. But guess what? Even after that rant I did on dogs, some brethren purchased dogs after that rant. And then you had to wait for Elder Shadrach to put it in writing now and make it a law for you. And all I got to say is, hey, tough on you, because when I went on the rant and you bought a dog after that rant, sorry, I don't have the warmth for you. Because it says, for dogs, David says, have compassed me. You can't read this. I'm talking to you right now. You can't read this and have a dog in your purse or a dog in your bed, because this line is not relatable. For dogs have compassed me. He is saying it in a negative way. But to you, that would be a positive. Dogs have compassed me because you have a dog in your purse or in your bed. That's a positive for you. But to David, this is negative. For dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. Now, one of the things that I talked to my elder about is David is much more than a king. And we still have to go there. I'm waiting because I'm a student, just so you know, just like you. I wait for my elder to tell me things because I'm a student. But this is what I have to say. David is talking about this, and this is food for thought. Is he foreseeing what Jesus the Christ went through? Or did he also go through something similar that was then quoted by Jesus the Christ in his time, that they pierce his hands and his feet? Because sometimes, honestly, when it says take up your cross and follow me, that is not talking about a physical cross. That's talking about the burden that you got to carry. And sometimes you do feel like your hands are pierced and your feet are pierced. We understand that language, being Israelites from the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. That language we understand because it's a thing that we go through. My hands. So, because people are going to comment, but this is about Jesus. And I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying there's a oneness here. There's a continuity here between David and what's happening. So this is why this is, and I have to keep saying this. It was said today early in our meeting that the knowledge that we have is very unique to this nation. And if you're not giddy about this, check your pulse. Oh, my tie went into my water. Isn't that cool? Then if you're not aware of that, and you're not giddy with excitement, and you don't have teeth to chomp into it, then do a pulse check. Because this stuff to me is awesome. They pierce. I said I was going to just read Psalm 22, but it looks like I'm not even going to get to finish Psalm 22 today. For dogs have compassed me. The assembly of the wicked hath enclosed me. They pierce my hands and my feet. I may tell all my bones, they look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them. I don't know how, I told Tamar, I said, I don't know if I'm going to do this lesson because I may cry doing this lesson. And then I woke up the next day and I said, you know what? I think I can muscle through it. Because I don't just see what happened to Jesus the Christ. I see what my forefather David is saying. And I see what the prophets went through. And I see what every holy person that actually held the seven branch lit for the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Their ups and their downs, their trials and their tribulations. I see it and I feel it. And he is saying, listen, man, you know, they take advantage of me. They are waiting for the downfall. There be many people, believe it or not, that is out there waiting for the downfall of this great Israelite nation, Worldwide Ministries. They are ready. They wish they can piece it together and they can part the garments. They can cast lots for the things that we have. Believe it or not. And that's why we fight. That's why we stay the course. That's why we ring and raise the roof on this, because it is true. It is not unique. It is what happens. They part my garments among them and cast lots for my vesture. But be thou not far from me, O Lord, my strength. Haste to help me. Deliver my soul from the sword and my darling again from the power of the dog. What more you need? Save me from the lion's mouth. Some of you feel that your head is right there in the lion's mouth. All he needs to do now is bah, and you're dead. Hold firm. Hold through the storm. Hold through the fire. Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorns. And here's what I'm going to do, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will declare thy name. So wait a minute. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to run away from you. I'm not going to seek help from another God. I'm not going to call the place that you have called your own, where your holy altar is, evil, or the spirit isn't there. Here's what I'm going to do. Even through all of this, I feel like a worm. I feel like water poured out. I feel like my hands and my feet are pierced. I feel like I am dying. But here's what I am going to do with that pain. I am going to come in the midst of the congregation and my brethren, and I will praise you, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will praise you. I ain't going to buckle down. I'm going to take that and I'm going to run through here with the flag. And I'm going to praise you in the midst of my brethren. You that fear the Lord, it says, praise him. But it clarifies, Elder Jerry. It says, all you seed of Jacob. This is not a worldly doctrine. So Christians right now, you're not included in Psalm 22. You're not included in Genesis chapter 1 or the end of Revelation. Just so we're clear, this is an Israelite book about an Israelite people and about their Israelite God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. This is a family affair. In the lows and in the highs, this is a family affair. And I'll read that again. He that fear the Lord, praise him. Don't stop. Andrew, don't stop. All you seed of Jacob, glorify him. I've said there are more songs written by the children of Jacob about weed and marijuana than there is about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Isn't this a terrible world? All you seed of Jacob, glorify him and fear him, all you seed of Israel. For he had not despised. He has not. Nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted. I feel afflicted, Elder Andel. I'm afflicted. You don't know what's going on in my life. He hath not abhorred the affliction of the afflicted. Wait on his time. Don't give up. Just wait on his time. Neither had he hid his face from him. But when he cried unto him, he heard. Just wait. My praise shall be of thee in the great congregation. Some of you say, listen, man, I just want to be in my home, in my own rooftop, praising God, and I'm good. Some of you say, why do Elder Shadrach and the council, Supreme Council, always talk about Bentworth? You don't need a building to go serve God. You don't need that. I could just be on YouTube somewhere and I can shop around. I can skip from Israelite nation. I can go to the other Israelite places and I'm good. But David says, no, you need a congregation. David said that. You need a congregation. You understand? Because then this would make no sense. So let me read it again. My praise, David says, shall be of thee in the, not the congregation, but the great congregation. Lots of people congregate. Lots of so-called religions congregate. That's congregations. But I'm talking about your congregation, God of Israel, which is the great congregation. I will pay my vows before them that fear him. All of us, every single one of us that went through the water made that vow at the holy altar that is at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. We made that vow. And David is saying, I'm going to go back in the midst of my brethren, in the great congregation, and I'm going to remember what gave me life. I'm going to remember what gave me what I am today. When we talk about people having services here and feast in Cancun or in Turks and Caicos or in Belize or in Hawaii, and people don't understand what we're trying to say, is David says, I will go back in the great congregation and pay my vows. Where is that? I don't even know how much I got left. The meek shall eat and be satisfied. They shall praise the Lord that seek him. Your heart shall live forever. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord. But I'm not going to keep saying the Lord. They will turn unto the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all kindreds of the nations shall worship before him. For the kingdom is the Lord's. And he is, Elder Michael, he is the governor among the nations. That's the real governor. That's the real governor. Elder Michael, listen to this one. All they that be fat upon the earth shall eat and worship, and they that go down to the dust shall bow before him. Nothing is hidden or excluded from giving reverence to the great King, Lord, and God of all gods. The God that we serve. And I'm going to talk to you that are listening to this. Whatever you're going through, the fire could fail you if you allow the fire to burn. The thumbnail of this YouTube lesson or message was inspired from the three boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in the fiery furnace. And the fire could have destroyed them. But they held on in a way that I don't even know if I could have held on like them. And because they held on, that fire became their friend. There was no smell of smoke even on their clothing. No smell of smoke. Nothing. And everyone that opened up to check on them, they got devoured by that same fire. So the fire didn't fail them. It formed them into being something greater for the God of Israel. And some people are going through things, and some people may not be, because you're protected by maybe your parents. Maybe you're young and your parents have that hedge around you. But one day you'll be adulting up and you'll be outside of that hedge. And you'll go through your ups, believe me, and your many downs, believe me. But don't ever think that there is no God in heaven listening to me. Don't ever think that what we do here is not benefiting to any degree. We keep the new moons and we keep the Sabbaths faithfully because the God that's in heaven we serve faithfully. And like it said, oh, Daniel, Daniel, did the God that you serve continually able to deliver you? Okay, he did. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir, he did. If Naomi did not continually, even she said, call me Mara, if she did not continually still give the praise and the glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Ruth would not say, I want your God to be my God and your people to be my people. It is impossible. But she said, I want your God to be my God and your people to be my people. But if Naomi was walking around cursing God all the while, it would not have been a Jesse or it would not have been a David. You got, oh, Jesse's looking at me. Look, Jesse's over there looking at me. And when I say it wouldn't be a Jesse, he's like, You know it. They that be fat upon the earth shall eat and worship. All right, you know what? I see my time has come to a close. And I just want to say that the fire, as the message is, didn't fail you. It formed you. If you allow it to. And trust me, for the young ones growing up, pain and struggle and the storm is always at the gate. Always there. And most people do a U-turn. But some people come through the pain, the struggle, and the storm because what's on the other end is meant for you to be better. It's a gift from God. So you go down until your last breath swinging the sword. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.